Thank you, Chair Stone. We are live.
Excellent. Welcome, everyone, those thousands of adoring viewers out there. I'd like to call this meeting to order. As a result of the order in council issued by the province of Ontario declaring an emergency for the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as the requirements of physical distancing, the meeting is being held electronically in accordance with Section 238 of the Municipal Act 2001. The procedures of the meeting are as per the town's procedural bylaw and the electronic meeting protocol during emergencies. I'll now ask the recording secretary to conduct a roll call of members present.
Thank you. I will now call the roll of committee. Chair, Councillor Bob Stone.
Present.
Kenneth Donald.
Present.
Councillor Jason Fitzgerald.
Present.
Helena Renwick.
Present.
Brandon Stapleton.
Present.
All right, as I mentioned to committee before, I will be inserting you as a mover and a seconder just to make things more efficient here. But if you are not happy with being a mover or seconder, please tell me right away. Do any committee members have disclosure of pecuniary interest? All right, seeing none. Okay, so moved by Kenneth Donald, seconded by Jason Fitzgerald. Be it resolved that Committee of Adjustment agenda dated July 21, 2020 be hereby adopted as printed and circulated. All in favor? And that's carried. All right, this is all very different and new as we do this online, so please be patient with me. Is that it? So I'd like to welcome everyone to the public meetings to consider applications for minor variances to the zoning bylaw. The input received by agencies, public, and staff is important in order for the committee to make sound planning decisions. Do I need to stop?
We just have to do the motion to do but we can do that.
Motion to accept the minutes? Okay. All right, well, we'll pause right there and moved by Helena Renwick and seconded by Brandon Stapleton. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes dated March 11, 2020, and the recommendations contained therein be hereby adopted as printed and circulated. Any comments? All in favor? And that's carried. All right, the procedure to be followed in these meetings will be as follows. A brief explanation of the application and any correspondence received to date will be given by staff. The applicant or the representative will be asked to provide any additional comments without repeating the information already outlined by staff. Any members of the public present will then be permitted to ask questions or provide comments respecting the applications. It's important to remember at all times those persons wishing to make representations do so through the chair. Any persons making representation are requested to first state their name and mailing address. Please note that presentations are limited to 10 minutes. Once the hearing is concluded, the input received will be considered by the committee prior to making a decision on the applications. If you wish to be notified of a decision of the committee, you must file a written request for notification. And we're moving straight to our first application. Youngblood is the first application. Curtis?
Sorry about that. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of committee, and those members of the public with us here today. Just wanted to reiterate again that there'll be no staff presentation on screen. So if you'd like to, please follow along in the agenda. The subject property is located at 211 South Drive. The lot is designated waterfront and zoned shoreline residential 1. The applicant is proposing to construct a 62-meter-squared single-story detached garage to the rear of the existing dwelling. A minor variance is required to reduce the interior side yard setback from 6 meters to 3 meters for the detached garage only. With respect to the reduced side yard setback, the location of the proposed garage would abut the owner's existing driveway near the rear of the lot and away from all structures and activity areas on the neighboring property. Its location, together with the existing vegetation buffer that can be seen in the photo of the in the staff report, abutting the common lot line and rear lot line, would sufficiently screen the garage from the abutting lot in accordance with the official plan. The application was circulated to the Lake Vernon Association and in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. One letter of support and no objections have been received. The application appears to conform to the policies of the official plan, and therefore staff are recommending approval.
Thank you. I'll call on the applicant or the representative to make any comment, and Crystal will help me with this.
If the applicant or the representative wishes to speak to the application, please do so by raising your hand or pressing *9 if you are connected via telephone. Chair Stone, I see no hands raised.
All right, then I'll go to the public. Is there any member of the public that would like to speak?
Chair Stone, I see one member of the public with their hand raised.
Let's bring them in. It's like a game show.
Hi, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear
Hello?
you.
Okay.
So we are the applicants, Peter Youngblood and Shelley Brandon Youngblood.
What's your address?
We are at 211 South Drive.
Okay.
So we just wanted to say, essentially, we are year-round residents now at that location. It is our year-round property, and we just want to put a garage in so that we have a place to put our cars with the winter, so we can store our gear and things. With 3 children that are very active in sports, so we can store things and basically enjoy our property to the fullest. We also want to maximize our yard space because our kids are active, and we just would like a garage so that we can further enjoy the property that we now own and intend to live at for a long time.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. Is there any other member of the public that wishes to speak?
Chair Stone, I'm seeing no hands at this time.
All right, then I'll turn it to committee. Any comments or questions, committee members? All right. Then moved by Jason Fitzgerald, seconded by Kenneth Donald. Be it resolved that minor variance application A05-2020 HTE be approved, the purpose and effect of which is to provide relief from subsection 3.1.15.3b to reduce the interior side yard setback from 6 meters to 3 meters for a single-story detached garage only. Any comments or questions? All in favor? And that's carried. All right, Curtis, the Zaludec application.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is located at 42 Port Vernon Lane. The lot is designated waterfront and zoned shoreline residential 5 with exception 1584. The applicants are proposing to construct a screened porch and deck on the existing single-family dwelling. A minor variance is required to increase the permitted lot coverage from 5% to 5.75%. A site sketch can be seen in the staff report as attachment 2. A site suitability report was prepared in 2004, which identified the most appropriate building location on the site. The proposed additions are situated within this building envelope while maintaining the recommended front yard setback of the existing dwelling. The study also recommended that the shoreline buffer be maintained with the exception of a 2.5 meter pathway. This recommendation will continue to be implemented through site plan control, mitigating the visual impacts of the development when viewed from the lake. As a result, the proposed increase in lot coverage would be considered minor, as the visual impact of the dwelling would be mitigated by the ample shoreline buffer, and the overall lot coverage would remain relatively low in relation to the lot's area. The application was circulated to the Lake Vernon Association in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. One letter of support and no objections were received. The application appears to conform to the policies of the official plan, and therefore staff are recommending approval.
Thank you very much. I'll call on the applicant or the representative to make any comments.
And just a reminder, if the applicant or the representative wishes to speak, please do so by raising your hand or pressing *9 if you are connected via telephone. I see we have one hand raised.
Good afternoon.
Hi.
Hi, Dan Christian from Creative Design and Engineering, 21 Morgan Heights Drive, P1H1B7. And yeah, just thanks for the committee for reviewing this application. I've read through Curtis's report and it's very thorough and basically spelled out everything that we're looking for. And I'm in agreement. We're in agreement with everything that was written, and we hope this gets approved.
Wonderful. Thanks very much. So I'll ask Crystal, should Mr. Christian stay here while we ask for the public input, or do we send him away?
That is completely up to you, Chair Stone.
All right, I'm happy to leave him there. So let's ask any member of the public that wishes to speak.
Absolutely. And just a reminder to raise your hand or press *9 if you're connected via telephone. Chair Stone, I'm seeing no hands raised.
All right, then I'll turn it to committee members. Any comments or questions about the application? Everybody's very silent today. All right. Moved by Brandon Stapleton, seconded by Helena Renwick. Be it resolved that the minor variance application A07-2020 HTE be approved. The purpose and effect of which is to provide relief from subsections 5.3.4 of the Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2008-66P in order to increase the permitted lot coverage from 5% to 5.75%. Any comments or questions? All in favor? And that's carried. Thanks, Dan.
Oh, thank you very much.
All right, Curtis, we're on to the Huizinga application.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is located at 62 West Browns Road. The lot is designated residential and zoned residential 2. The purpose of the application is to reduce the required minimum lot frontage from 15 meters to 14.1 meters to permit the creation of one new residential lot. The subject lands are designated urban residential and located within the intensification corridor in the built-up area of the Huntsville urban settlement area. Although the official plan does not provide a minimum frontage requirement for urban lots, the policies do note that development is to be designed in such a way as to minimize land consumption and efficiently use infrastructure and community facilities. through encouraging cost-effective development at appropriate densities and in appropriate locations. I would also note that this application previously received consent approval, and it was only after the survey was completed that it was noted that the frontage was slightly deficient. I would also note that where frontage is measured on the lot, the actual frontage abutting the road complies, but the frontage is measured at the front yard setback of the zone, and that unfortunately is the deficient measurements. The application was circulated in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. One letter of objection was received from an abutting owner raising concerns about the impacts of stormwater runoff, as well as future development encroachment onto their lot. I would note that despite the reduction to the required frontage, ample space remains to site a dwelling that would meet all required setbacks of the zone. To address the stormwater issues, staff have consulted with the building department, included a condition of approval to require an engineered drainage plan to be submitted to the satisfaction of staff prior to a building permit being issued on the lot. And as such, the application appears to conform to the policies of the official plan, and staff are recommending approval.
Thanks very much. Call on the applicant or the representative to make some comments.
Again, if the applicant or representative wishes to speak to the application, please do so by raising your hand or pressing *9 if you're connected via telephone. And I see one hand raised.
All right.
Good afternoon. Can everyone hear me?
We can. Can we see you?
I think so.
Oh, there you are.
Hey. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Graham Huizinga, owner of the property at 62 West Road. I agree with Curtis's report. I thank him for his work on the file. As for the letter from the neighbor, Mr. Coombs, I have no concerns with adding the condition about drainage before securing a building permit for the house that will eventually be built on this severed lot. I wouldn't want to create any drainage issues. I wasn't aware of existing drainage issues as I don't live there, but I certainly don't want to exacerbate anything, so I'm perfectly fine to include that condition. And as for the siting concerns, as Curtis mentioned, there's plenty of room on the property to site a house, so I'm happy to answer any questions the committee might have. Thanks.
Thanks, Graham. All right, then let's go to members of the public. If anyone would like to speak to this application.
Again, just a reminder to raise your hand or press *9 if you are connected via telephone. Seeing no hands raised, Chair Stone.
Thank you very much. Committee members, any comments or questions? Mr. Donald.
Thank you, Chair. Through you to Curtis. I noticed Mr. Coombs makes a comment about encroachment on his property, and yet there seems to be sufficient space on the property to do a development. Do you know what he's referring to?
I tried to get in touch with Mr. Coombs, but I took it to mean that there was maybe a confusion about what the reduction of frontage was actually doing. I just wanted to clarify that the reduction of frontage isn't a reduction of required setbacks. Any future development will need to meet the requirements of the R2 zone, and as such, there'll be no encroachment on Mr. Coombs' property.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other comments? All right, seeing none. Moved by Kenneth Donald, seconded by Helena Renwick. Be it resolved that the minor variance application A08-2020 HTE be approved. The purpose and effect of which is to provide relief from subsections 5.2.4 of the Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2008-66P in order to permit a minimum lot frontage of 14.1 meters, conditional on an engineering drainage plan prepared by a qualified professional being submitted to the satisfaction of the town of Huntsville prior to the issuance of a building permit. Any comments or questions by committee? All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Graham. All right, Curtis, you're still on deck here with Duty and Cal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is located at 59 and 61 East Menominee Lake Road, and I just wanted to clarify quickly that the lots have merged on title, and the town is just presently reevaluating the civic number. But I just wanted to clarify that because it does look like two lots. The lot is designated waterfront and zoned shoreline residential 3. The applicant is proposing to demolish an existing dwelling and construct a new 137 meter squared single family dwelling further from the shoreline and beyond the 30-meter front yard setback. And this would incorporate an increased footprint of approximately 47 meters squared. A minor variance is required to reduce the front yard setback from 30 meters to 26 meters for an open unenclosed deck only. I would also like to note the existing dwelling is located 23 meters from the shoreline. As the fish habitat within abutting the reach of shoreline was unevaluated, an assessment was completed by Riverstone Environmental Solutions in keeping with the official plan. The study's author evaluated the proposed development and concluded that the reconstruction of the dwelling further from the water would not negatively impact fish habitat, given the distance of the redevelopment from the shoreline, the minor changes to the size of the existing structure, and the absence of any in-water development. The study included recommendations to mitigate any residual effect of the proposed development, including leaving all in-water habitat features in their current locations, continued maintenance of the shoreline buffer in a natural vegetated state, and the use of erosion control during construction. Site plan control will be utilized to maintain and enhance the natural vegetation abutting the shoreline and to implement the recommendations of the fish habitat assessment. The application was circulated in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. No objections were received. The application appears to conform to the policies of the official plan and provincial policy statement, and therefore staff are recommending approval.
Thanks very much. I'll call on the applicant or the representative to make any comments about the application.
So if the applicant or the representative wishes to speak, please do so by raising your hand. Seeing no hands raised.
All right, then let's go to the public. Would anyone present wish to make any comments about the application?
Again, please show so by raising your hand. Again, seeing no hands raised.
All right, committee members, any comments or questions? Helena Renwick.
I have two mouses here right now.
No.
Through you, Chair Stone, to Curtis. Just to confirm, you said that the two lots are now one lot, so 59 and 61 are now together?
That's right. As part of the submission package, the owners provided us with a title abstract, which is from the Land Registry Office, and it clearly shows that the lots have been merged into under one PIN number.
Right.
So we're in one ownership.
All right.
Or one separately conveyable parcel.
Right. And just further to that, Mr. Chair, so the original building was 23 meters from the shoreline and is now, they're proposing 26 meters from the shoreline, correct?
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, just to clarify, the original dwelling was located 23 meters from the shoreline.
Right.
The entirety of the new proposed dwelling is going to be behind the 30-meter setback, which is the required setback of the zone. Okay. And the required setback for fish habitat. It's just the a portion of the proposed deck would be located 26 meters from the water's edge.
Thank you. That's all I need to know. Thank you.
Great. Any other comments or questions? All right. Moved by Jason Fitzgerald, seconded by Brandon Stapleton. Be it resolved that minor variance application A11-2020 HTE be approved. The purpose and effect of which is to provide relief from subsection 5.3.4 to reduce the front yard setback from 30 meters to 26 meters for an open unenclosed deck only. Any comments or questions? All in favor? And that's carried. All right, we've got a new player in the Committee of Adjustment game show. Thank you, Curtis. Richard, I believe you're coming in. All right, and you're going to speak to the Bullen application.
That is right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is located at 24 Lansdowne Street West. Attachment number 1 to the staff report illustrates the location of the subject property. The lot has an approximate area of 456 meters square and an approximate frontage of 16 meter on Lansdowne Street West and 20 meters of frontage on Dufferin Street. So it's a corner lot. The lot is designated residential within the town's urban settlement area and is zoned residential 2. The applicant is proposing to construct 2 additions. A 40 square meter ground floor with basement addition on the north side of the dwelling and a 13 meter square ground floor with basement addition on the east side of the dwelling. Attachment 2 contains a sketch that illustrates the location and footprints of the proposed additions. A minor variance is required to recognize the existing front yard setback of 3.4 meters, recognize the existing exterior side yard setback of 0.5 meters, and to reduce the required rear yard setback from 10 meters to 7.4 meters for the proposed additions only. The existing single-family dwelling is a non-complying building as it is located within the front and exterior side yards, required in an R2 zone. Additions to non-complying buildings and structures may be permitted, provided certain tests are satisfied. These tests are outlined in section F1.4.20 of the official plan. In consideration of the variances requested, the additions would appear to satisfy the applicable criteria as they do not further the extent of the non-compliance, except where relief is specifically requested in this application. They would appear to meet the relevant policies of the official plan and comply with all other applicable zoning provisions, and they would not significantly increase the amount of floor area in the required rear yard. Section C 3.2.7 states that the character of Huntsville's urban settlement area will be protected by ensuring the permitted uses and densities result in compact development. In lands designated urban residential, no minimum lot areas or frontage requirements are specified. However, the policies do note that residential development is to be designed in such a way as to minimize land consumption and efficiently use infrastructure and community facilities through encouraging appropriate densities in appropriate locations. In this case, the additions represent only a modest increase in lot coverage, match the height of the existing dwelling, and are likely not to result in any significant new impacts to abutting landowners, as additions would maintain the existing setbacks across the front and exterior side yards. Furthermore, as illustrated in the aerial photo image in attachment 1, examples of similar infill developments are found in the vicinity. As such, these additions would appear to be in keeping with the character of the neighborhood and thus represent an appropriate example of infill development and at an appropriate density in an appropriate location. The applications were circulated in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act, and no objections have been received. The proponent included letters of support from 4 surrounding neighbors, and these are contained in attachment 4. The application appears to meet the 4 tests required to be satisfied for a minor variance. Additionally, the application would appear to conform to the intent of the official plan and be consistent with the provincial policy statement. As such, staff is recommending that this application be approved. And I'd be happy to answer any questions the committee may have.
Thanks very much. Let's go to the applicant or the representative to make any comments.
A reminder, if the applicant or the representative wishes to speak, please do so by raising your hand. Seeing no hands raised.
All right, then members of the public, is there anyone that wishes to speak to this application?
Again, seeing no hands raised.
Okay. Committee members, any comments or questions? All right, moving right along. Moved by Brandon Stapleton, seconded by Kenneth Donald. Be it resolved that minor variance application A09-2020 HTE be approved. The purpose and effect of which is to provide relief from subsections 5.2.4 and of the Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2008-66P in order to reduce the existing front yard setback of 3.4 meters, recognizing the existing side yard setback of 0.5 meters, and reduce the rear yard setback from 10 meters to 7.4 meters to permit the construction of 2 additions to an existing single-family dwelling only. Comments or questions? All in favor? And that's carried. All right, Richard, you're speaking to the Farquhar application now.
That's right. Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is located at 138 Golden Pheasant Drive. The lot has an approximate area of 1,862 meters square and an approximate frontage of 37 meters on Fairy Lake. The lot is presently developed with a 2-story single-family dwelling. The lot is designated Highway 60 Transition Corridor Special Policy Area and is zoned Residential 2. The applicant is requesting a minor variance to recognize a decorative wall that was constructed below a skirt roof on the western side of the building. A minor variance is required to reduce the required side yard setback from 6 meters to 5 meters for the decorative wall addition only. A second story was recently, this one requires a little bit of explanation and maybe some reference to some of the photos in the package. So that's what I'm going to have to do to help you understand this one. The second story was recently added to an existing legal non-complying structure, which encroached approximately 1 meter into the side yard. To avoid triggering a minor variance application in relation to the project, the applicant proposed to construct a second-story addition stepped back approximately 1 meter from the side yard setback for the second story. However, at the time of construction, a decorative wall was built within the required side yard setback to extend the line of the exterior wall between the ground floor to the skirt roof. And that skirt roof was built as part of the second story addition. So attachment number 3 contains photos, and those photos show before, during, and after construction photos to help illustrate the extent of the decorative wall and to better explain the the relief that's requested. Photo number 3, which was taken during construction, shows the decorative wall under construction between the existing ground floor and the stepped back second story addition, and hence within the required side yard setback. Photo number 4 shows the decorative wall area in the required side yard setback post-construction. In this case, only a decorative wall beneath the skirt roof was constructed within the required side yard setback. The remainder of the second story addition was suitably set back. Further, all relevant OP policies relating to the protection of natural heritage features and water resource areas were addressed through site plan approval and will be implemented through the existing site plan agreement between the town and the owner. Therefore, policies protecting environmental integrity and maintaining character of the Highway 60 transition corridor are generally unaffected. The application was circulated to the Fairy Lake Association, and in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act, no objections were received. 2 letters of support were submitted in response to the notices and are contained in attachment 4. The application appears to meet the 4 tests required to be satisfied in relation to a minor variance application. Additionally, the application would appear to conform to the intent of the official plan and be consistent with the provincial policy statement. As such, staff is recommending that this application be approved, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks very much. I'll call on the applicant or the representative to make any comments.
A reminder to please use the raise hand function if you wish to address committee. Seeing no hands raised.
All right, then let's go to the public. Anyone else listening to this that would like to speak to the application?
Again, seeing no hands raised.
Thank you very much. Committee members, any comments or questions? Okay. Moved by Helena Renwick, second by Kenneth Donald. Be it resolved that minor variance application A 12-2020 HTE be approved. The purpose and effect of which is to provide relief from subsections 5.3.4 of the Comprehensive Zoning Bylaw 2008-66P in order to reduce the interior side yard setback from 6 meters to 5 meters to recognize a decorative wall. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Carried. All right. Now that all comments have been received, I declare these public meetings respecting the above applications to be concluded. We'll now move on to the non-public portion of the meeting to deal with consent applications. And I believe Curtis is coming back to join us with the key application.
Here we are. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is located at 2157 Brunel Road. It's designated rural within the official plan and zoned rural residential and rural 1. The purpose and effect of this application is to permit the creation of 2 rural residential lots, each having a minimum area of 2 hectares and 150 meters of frontage on Brunel Road. The retained lands would have an area of 26 hectares with 278 meters of frontage on Brunel Road. The lands are designated rural in the official plan. This designation anticipates single detached dwellings located on large lots which front onto existing year-round maintained roads. Section C874 states the minimum requirements for a new rural residential lot will be 2 hectares with 134 meters of frontage on a municipally maintained road. As both the severed and retained lots meet these minimums, the proposal appears to be in keeping with the policies of the official plan. The policies in Part B of the official plan speak to environmental protections and generally direct development away from natural heritage features and hazard lands. As multiple building envelope opportunities are available on each of the proposed lots outside the identified natural constrained areas and their associated buffers, the proposal also appears to be in keeping with the policies of Part B. Additionally, staff have included a condition requiring a 15-meter vegetation buffer abutting the watercourse to ensure that feature is protected. The applications were circulated in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. I would note that 1 letter of objection was submitted from an area resident raising concerns about the impacts of additional traffic adjacent to the lot, as well as safe access onto Brunel Road. In this case, the lots themselves front onto a Class A arterial road, which is Brunel Road. Section E382 of the official plan and K4341 of the district official plan outline that Class A arterial roads, are high capacity roads which function to deliver traffic from collector roads, to highways and urban centers. As a result, the district plan imposes large frontage requirements of 150 meters for new lots that front onto a Class A road. And again, I would note that the proposed lots meet those frontages in this case. Further, the lots would be subject to an entrance permit process as confirmed by the district in their comments to ensure that the entrances meet the appropriate engineering standard. In regards to other comments, I would note that the District of Muskoka also requested a 3-meter road widening abutting the severed and retained lands. And they had requested a 5126 agreement respecting the location of wells on the severed lands. And finally, I just want to note that Bell Canada had asked for an easement to be granted for a utility line that they had indicated was on or near the site. In regards to the location of that, I wasn't able to confirm it with Bell, but there is a Bell line that runs along the frontage of the property. I would note that the condition, obviously, if the Bell line isn't actually on the subject property, no easement will need to be granted. In which case, staff can just check off the condition if it is in fact if it is identified that the Bell line is located on the subject lands, then they can just easily fulfill that condition during the time of the when they're having the land surveyed. So, and then finally, the application appears to conform to the policies of the official plan, and therefore staff are recommending approval.
Thank you. Curtis, can I just ask you, 5126, is that about the dumps?
Oh, yeah, no, excuse me. Through you, Mr. Chair. A 5126 agreement is an agreement that the Planning Act allows the town to require through a consent process. So it's an agreement, the 5126 refers to the section of the Planning Act that allows us to require the agreement. So it's an agreement that would ultimately get registered on title of the property. So any future owners would be subject to the agreement as well. So in this case, there's 2 requirements for this type of agreement. One is with the district respecting the location of wells, and the other is with the town to require a 15-meter buffer abutting the watercourse.
Oh, great, thanks. All right, it's not a public meeting, but I believe the applicant or representative can speak if they wish. And is that the case? Crystal, can we find out if the applicant or representative wishes to speak?
I'm seeing 2 hands raised. Would you like me to bring them in at the same time?
Yes, please. Hi, Lanny, I can see you.
Yes, here.
And we're waiting for Richard to show up.
Hello. I don't know why you can't see my video.
All right, well, you keep working on that. And Lanny, do you want to start?
Sure. Hi, Dennis, Wayne Simpson and Associates, represent the owner of the property. Oh, and by the way, nice to see you, Chair Stone, and the committee virtually, anyways, and appreciate you moving forward with the process and these applications. I think what Curtis has said, I think that's a fair and accurate assessment of the proposal, and certainly appreciate working with staff and the assistance that they provided on the application, and concur with them to approve the applications. Just briefly, the merits of the proposal: there's no zoning required on the property to facilitate the creation of these lots. It conforms to the lot area and the frontage requirements for both the town and district official plans. And certainly there's ample area on the lots to accommodate future building and septic system. With regards to the comments, I would agree with Curtis that certainly from a safety standpoint, we have to get an entrance permit, and that's one of the conditions moving forward to finalize the severance from the District of Muskoka. And certainly the 500 feet does allow to, I would say, stagger entrances, so they're not immediately across from one another, which is equally as beneficial to the new owners of the new lots, so they avoid light pollution from any traffic there as well. And fact of the matter is, Burnell Road is a busy road. It has lots of traffic and plenty of lights. The only thing I'm going to say is I concur with the conditions, except for the the easement required by Bell. In speaking with the owner in my site visit, we didn't identify any lines on the property. Any connection to Bell would be self-sufficient. They'd be straight in from the Bell line that's along the road allowance. I'm not sure, sort of tagging on with an application in the Planning Act to secure an easement, when in fact we really don't know if even one is supposed to be there. We could be going in circles trying to chase Bell down at the 11th hour to try and finalize our consent to create these lots. The other thing is that if it's a blanket easement, it certainly encroaches or encumbers the lots, and of course it adds survey costs. The real way to do it, in my mind, would be to go to the owner of the property, request an easement, and they go through the process just like anybody else goes through the process. So my request would be, if we can eliminate that condition, I'd appreciate it. Thanks. And would respectfully request that committee approve the applications.
Thanks very much. Richard, we can't see you, but do you have anything to add?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I don't know. The screen went blue, and ever since then, nothing. No, I just want to thank Lanny for his help, and I wanted to thank the committee for their taking their time to hear this application. The purpose of it, or the reason of it, we've lived at this location since 1997 and thoroughly enjoyed it. But as I'm approaching my retirement, I'm doing all sorts of restructuring of financial affairs and things of that nature to make sure that for those that follow me, it's easy and it's clear and it's straightforward. And this is part of that process, which is why I'm asking at this point in time.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Curtis, I'm not seeing the Bell easement in the resolution here. Is it in here?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. It's condition 6.
All right.
So the idea being, and I guess I tried to clarify it before, and I realized I may have come off a little confusing. So if you'd allow me, Mr. Chair, I'd like another crack at it.
Absolutely, please.
So Bell had requested an easement, but didn't specify the exact location of the line. I mean, in speaking with Lanny and in Lanny's conversations with Richard, and what we can see from the air photos, it's likely that the only lines actually abut the front of the proposed lots along Burnell Road. And I mean, we also know that a 3-meter road widening, which is a 10-foot road widening, is required abutting the district right-of-way. So likely if there is a Bell line there, it will be encompassed in that right-of-way going forward. So by leaving the condition in, I don't think we're necessarily doing any harm. We can just get confirmation from Bell that the lines are located on those lands, and in that way we're satisfying Bell and ensuring that if there is an easement required, that one can be granted or will be granted.
Actually, Jasmine is putting up the sketch by Bell, apparently, from Bell.
Bell pole and
Bell pole line and aerial cable.
And I apologize, Mr. Chair. I'd only seen their email. I had never seen this attachment. So I sincerely apologize for that.
No worries.
yeah, that's news to me too.
I don't know if this helps or hinders their cause.
Well, And I think to clarify, I guess the point being that, the condition can be satisfied simply through a discussion with Bell. And if an easement is required, we will just note that prior to the survey work being done. And if it's not required, we will just get that in writing from Bell and we can satisfy that condition in that way. But of course, Lanny's made the request he has to remove the conditions. So I'll leave that for committee.
All right, thanks, Jasmine. If you could put it back. So committee members, I will open the floor to your comments. Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Chair Stone. I guess this question is kind of a blanket question to Lanny and Curtis both. An easement could be anywhere from 3 meters to 40 meters. So I think I kind of understand why Lanny is reluctant to have this in there. What if Bell wants to run a whole new thoroughfare through this easement we know nothing about? So there's no easement registered now. I don't think they deserve to have the privilege of having. It's too restrictive on the owner.
Thanks very much. Any other comments, committee members? Mr. Donald?
Thank you, Chair Stone. I guess a question through you to Curtis. What are the implications of removing the requirement for the easement as far as the town is concerned?
I suppose there's none really, except just knowing that I suppose, if we go worst case scenario, I suppose Bell could appeal the decision, but I suspect that isn't likely. Director Maxwell, I'm not missing, there's no other implications that I'm unaware of. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Donald?
Then I would like to suggest that the requirements be amended to exclude the easement.
All right, and that's a form of a motion?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Is there a seconder? All right, Brandon Stapleton. Then if we wait just a moment, staff will moved by Kenneth Donald, seconded by Brandon Stapleton. Be resolved that the following line be hereby deleted. Number 6, the transfer of an easement for a utility line as defined in the Ontario Energy Board Act 1998 being completed. All right. And if we go back to the whole screen, are there comments or questions about that amendment? All in favor? And that is carried. Shall I just strike this in here? All right. Then the motion as amended, moved by Kenneth Donald, seconded by Jason Fitzgerald. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment approve consent application B 6970 2019 HTE for the creation of 2 new rural residential lots. Conditional on a registerable description of the severed lots being submitted to the clerk, including all rights of ways and easements, along with a registered copy of the reference plan. The owner's taxes being in good standing. A site inspection fee of $230 being paid to the town of Huntsville. A consent finalization fee in the amount of $175 being paid to the town of Huntsville. 5% cash in lieu of parkland being paid to the town of Huntsville on the severed lands. An entrance permit being obtained from the District of Muskoka for each of the severed lots. A 3-meter road widening being across the entire frontage of the lands being dedicated to the District Municipality of Muskoka for road widening purposes. The lands being subject to an agreement with the District Municipality of Muskoka pursuant to Section 5126 of the Planning Act, RSO 2990, as amended, respecting the location of wells in relation to the district road. And the lands being subject to an agreement with the town of Huntsville pursuant to Section 5126 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, as amended, to require a 15-meter vegetation buffer be maintained abutting the watercourse located on the lot. All right. Comments or questions, committee? All in favor? And that's carried. All right, thank you. And Curtis, you're speaking to the last application here, the Hurley application.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is located at 371 Greer Road. It is designated community business in the official plan and zoned rural residential and rural 1. The application has been made to permit a lot addition. The severed lands would have an area of approximately 3,261 meters squared with no road frontage and would be added to 357 Greer Road. The retained lands would have an area of approximately 2.74 hectares and 68 meters of frontage on Greer Road. The applications were circulated in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. No objections were received. The applications appear to conform to the policies of the official plan, and therefore staff are recommending approval.
Thanks very much. Is the applicant or representative here and wish to speak to this application?
I see we still have one attendee. If they would like to join, please do so by raising your hand. Seeing no hands raised.
All right. Then committee members, any comments or questions? Councillor Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Chair Stone. I noticed in the package that there was some mention of access to 200 South Mary Lake Road, which is currently under appeal. At the outpad, I'm just trying to find it there. Access over 357 Greer Road to 200 South Mary Lake Road lands on the north side of the Trans-Canada Pipeline. So can someone enlighten me why we have a reference to 200 South Mary Lake Road?
Yeah, no, through you, Mr. Chair. So when the applicants first approached the town for pre-consultation, we were curious as to the purpose of the lot addition. The owners and their agents had indicated that what they were trying to achieve was to have their lot at 357 Greer Road connect to their lot, which they also own at 200 South Lake Road. And yet their idea was that there's their lot on 200 South Mary Lake Road is bisected by a Union Gas right-of-way. And they felt it would be easier to access the northern portion of the lot via this right-of-way. They've indicated that their only intent at this time is just to be able to access the northern portion of the lot, potentially cut some wood, and that they had no development proposals in mind.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? All right. Moved by Brandon Stapleton, seconded by Helena Renwick. Be it resolved that the Committee of Adjustment approve consent application B23 2020 HTE to allow for a lot addition, conditional on a registerable description of the severed lots being submitted to the clerk, including all rights of ways and easements, along with a registered copy of the reference plan. The owner's taxes being in good standing, a consent finalization fee in the amount of $175 being paid to the town of Huntsville, An undertaking to be provided from the solicitor acting for the parties, indicating that the severed land and the abutting property, part of Lot 19, Concession 6, Geographic Township of Stevenson, designated as Part 1, Plan 35R 15463, will be consolidated into one PIN under the land title system. The severed lands are to join in title to the lands to which they are being added. Section 53 or 5 of the Planning Act RSO 1990 as amended applies to any subsequent conveyance or transaction in relation to the land subject to this consent. All right. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Shazam. All right.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, members of committee.
Thanks, Curtis. All right. That seems like all the fun we get for today. So moved by Jason Fitzgerald, seconded by Kenneth Donald. Be it resolved that we do now adjourn at 3:02 p.m. All in favor? Thank you very much.
Hey, everybody.